Back in the 80s, arcade cabinets lit up with the wild energy of run-and-gun games. Remember blasting through waves of enemies, dodging bullets, and feeling like an unstoppable action hero? Games like Contra and Ikari Warriors turned every quarter into an adrenaline rush. The pixelated explosions, the catchy chiptune soundtracks, and that sweet, sweet two-player co-op made every session feel legendary. No save points, no hand-holding, just pure, chaotic fun where skill and reflexes ruled. If you grew up feeding coins into those machines, you know the magic. Simple controls, endless bullets, and the thrill of surviving just one more level. In this video, we are going to discuss 15 must-play 80s run-and-gun games that you must play in this cozy winter. Commando. Guys, Commando is one of those games that just throws you right into pure 80s chaos. You're this lone soldier, charging through waves of enemies with nothing but your machine gun and a handful of grenades. It's simple, sure, but that simplicity is part of the charm. There's something raw about mowing down chains of enemies and weaving between explosions. It really nails that arcade adrenaline. The top-down style keeps things tight and fast, almost like you're playing a live-action war movie at 60 seconds per scene. Every run feels different, especially when the screen floods with soldiers from all angles. The sound effects hit hard too. That classic arcade gunfire and explosion crunch never gets old. And honestly, in today's age of respawns and checkpoints, Commando's brutal one-life challenge reminds you how tough games used to be. It's the kind of run and gun where skill and reflexes make all the difference. Contra. Contra is the godfather of side-scrolling insanity. The moment you hit start, it just doesn't stop. The pace is electric, the jumps tight, and the gunplay ridiculously satisfying. What really makes Contra timeless is how responsive it feels. Every bullet, every flip, every dodge matters. The spread gun is still legendary, transforming a level from "I might survive this" to "I'm unstoppable." Co-op mode was where the real fun started though. 2 players, 1 screen, chaos everywhere. Even when you died, and you will, over and over, it never felt unfair. The music pumps you up, the enemy design is pure 80s imagination, and the transitions between running, climbing and base shooting levels kept it from feeling repetitive. In 2025, Contra still feels alive. It's raw, energetic, and perfectly designed to make you sweat and smile at the same time. Few games can match that balance of frustration and fun.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
RoboCop. So RoboCop was the perfect mix of movie magic and pixel mayhem. Walking into that first level, you immediately feel that heavy, slow, mechanical movement. It nails the character. Unlike the faster run-and-gun heroes of the 80s, RoboCop's pace gives every shot a sense of weight. You're not storming through enemies, you're clearing them methodically, just like in the film. The game blends side-scrolling action with shooter precision, letting you blast punks through windows with that iconic Auto 9 pistol sound. The levels had a surprising variety too, shifting between combat, hostage rescues, and those awesome first-person targeting sections. Sure, it was tough, overly tough, but that difficulty fed into the RoboCop fantasy. One unbreakable machine taking on an entire city of crooks. Even today, the pixel art and crunchy sound effects lock in that late 80s movie grit. It's a perfect time capsule of when games weren't just adapted from films, they became part of the legend. Ghouls'n Ghosts. Every time you think you've mastered Ghouls'n Ghosts, the game laughs in your face. This sequel to Ghosts and Goblins took everything crazy about the first one and doubled down. You play as Arthur, the knight who feels brave but dies to practically everything. But that's part of the addiction. The game's brutal challenge keeps you learning. You study enemy patterns, memorize jumps, and stop blaming the controls. What's cool is how beautiful yet menacing each stage looks, with eerie graveyards, fire-spitting demons, and stormy skies, all drenched in that arcade detail Capcom was famous for. The weapon system gave some freedom too, letting you pick favorites like the dagger or the holy fire. And of course, that humiliating underwear death animation never gets old. It's a rite of passage. Playing this in 2025 still hits hard. It's tough, gorgeous, and feels like a real test of endurance and style. You don't play Ghouls and Ghosts, you survive it. Jackal. Jackal feels like Contra's cousin, who traded foot soldiers for jeeps, and it's just as intense. You and your buddy cruise through war zones, rescuing POWs, upgrading weapons, and blasting tanks into dust. The top-down setup gives it a totally different flavor from most run-and-guns, more tactical and less brute force. Drifting through sand and rubble while grenades explode everywhere never gets old. The coolest part is tossing grenades from the Jeep in perfect rhythm, chaining destruction as you go. Playing Jackal solo is satisfying, but with a co-op partner, it turns into controlled chaos at its best. The enemy variety, the tight controls, and that upbeat Konami soundtrack keep it all moving. It's one of those games that rewards aggression but punishes carelessness, which keeps the tension alive. Jackal might not be as famous as Contra, but in its own lane, it's a pure 8-bit powerhouse that still feels fresh in 2025. Midnight Resistance. Now here's a game that feels criminally underrated. Midnight Resistance is pure 80s attitude, cranked to 11. The rotary control setup was wild back then. Turning your gun in any direction while moving gave this fluid, almost twin-stick feel before that was even a thing. The game had a gritty, cyberpunk vibe that felt cooler than most run-and-guns of its time. You're raiding enemy bases, freeing your family and collecting keys from fallen bosses to unlock new weapons. Easily one of the smartest upgrade systems of the era. The pacing hits that perfect sweet spot between relentless and strategic. The music goes hard, filled with that signature Data East punch that keeps your blood pumping. It's flashy, hard, and ridiculously fun once you get the rhythm. Midnight Resistance may not be as talked about today, but revisiting it in 2025 feels like rediscovering an old VHS action movie that's somehow better than you remembered. Russian Attack. Few games scream Cold War action like Russian Attack. The name itself tells you everything. Run fast, stab faster. You're a soldier breaking into enemy territory, armed with nothing but a knife. It's gutsy, brutal, and straightforward. The side-scrolling levels are all about quick reflexes, timing, and confidence. One wrong move and it's over. But when you're in the zone, slicing through soldiers like a one-man army feels unreal. You can grab extra weapons like rocket launchers or flamethrowers, but they're temporary boosts. The knife is your real identity here. The simplicity makes it addicting, and the tension never fades because death is always one step away. The look and sound of the game scream 1980s. Flashing explosions, crunchy digitized effects, and military bases lit like neon nightmares. It's a lean, tough-as-nails action game. that proves you don't need a trigger-happy arsenal to feel unstoppable. Russian attack still hits like a speed rush today. Ikari Warriors. Jumping into Ikari Warriors for the first time, the thing that totally threw me was those rotary joysticks. Letting you walk one way and shoot in another was wild compared to most of its competitors. You're two buff, bandana-wearing commandos pushing up through jungle chaos with that classic Rambo energy. Tearing through the enemy lines, hijacking tanks to stomp foes, and lobbing grenades just feels strategic, but nuts at the same time. The top-down view means you're never totally safe, and the further you get, the more the game tries to rush you. If you take too long, artillery fire starts raining down. Ikari's two-player mode is legendary for all the accidental team kills and dramatic rescues. Grab enough power-ups, and you'll start feeling like an unstoppable force. But it's always teetering on disaster. Magic? No, just pure arcade design at its best. Heavy barrel. Honestly, this game felt like finding a hidden gem in an old arcade crate. Unlike the more straightforward vertical shooters, Heavy Barrel lets you scroll in all directions. Forward, backward, sideways. So there's almost a maze vibe. The key mechanic, collecting pieces of the ultra-powerful Heavy Barrel cannon, which blasts everything to pieces for a glorious half-minute, making you the king of carnage. You're busting open crates for gear, snatching keys from standout enemies, and always hunting those weapon upgrades. The bosses are huge bullet sponges, so half your fight is about not getting cornered while chipping their health down. Visually, it's got those gritty bunker vibes, packed with explosions and neon oranges against army green. Multiplayer is mayhem. Sometimes you and your buddy race for the heavy barrel, other times you're yelling, "Cover me!" It's a classic for creative run-and-gun action.
Rambo 3.
Rambo 3. Playing Rambo 3 in the arcade, there's no way not to feel like Stallone tearing through enemy territory. It's always about that non-stop momentum. You're running into the screen, shooting Soviets, ducking behind barriers that can totally blow up if you mess up. You get an endless machine gun, instant nostalgia points. But switching to the longbow with explosive arrows is an adrenaline hit, especially during those boss fights. Levels combine rescue missions and sabotage rampages, so each run feels like a different movie scene. Multiplayer means even more chaos, but it never gets too punishing. There's a fair shot for everyone to beat a level with strategy and some quick shooting. Every time the screen fills with mines, I end up blowing them up and laughing at the wild chain reactions. If you're an 80s blockbuster fan, this is the closest you can get to playing an entire action movie with your hands. Rolling Thunder. Rolling Thunder is where stylish spy action meets tough platforming. The first time I tried it, the look and atmosphere surprised me. Neon-lit hallways, mysterious masked baddies, and a soundtrack straight out of a spy thriller. You're Agent Albatross, zipping between upper and lower walkways, ducking into doors for cover or ammo. Very cool detail. It's not about brute force. You've got a weak pistol, and precise timing is essential, because enemy bullets kill instantly if you slip up. The climbing and jumping bits add a platformer twist, and the game never lets you breathe. If you wait around, more enemies pile out of doors. It's got a deliberate pace that makes every checkpoint feel earned, not just handed to you. The later levels get tough, pushing you to balance aggression with calculated dodges. Rolling Thunder might not have as many guns as others, but man, does it drip with 80s vibe and slick tension. Guerrilla War. Brandishing a machine gun and tossing endless grenades, Guerrilla War absolutely drowns you in action from the moment you start. It's rapid fire, top-down chaos. You're fighting through beaches, jungles, even absurd train battles, all trying to rescue POWs and outgun a seemingly infinite stream of green uniforms. The game almost never lets up. Enemies pour in from every corner, and the only way to survive is blasting your way forward. Accidentally shooting a prisoner always stings, but the rush to save them keeps the pace electric. Multiplayer is where things get bonkers. You and a friend coordinating grenade throws, weaving between tanks, and watching out for those power-up soldiers in red. Flamethrowers, rocket launchers, even a machine gun upgrade. Each weapon switch changes your strategy, but lose a life and you're back to scratching for gear. It's madcap arcade fun, wrapped in revolution vibes. Exolon. So, moving on to Exolon feels like getting dropped onto an alien planet with a blaster and a whole lot of attitude. This flip-screen shooter blends run and gun with a sort of puzzle flavour. Sometimes you're in agile marine mode, dodging shots, and other screens you suit up in a hydraulic exoskeleton to tank through the carnage. Ammo and grenades are limited, so you're always scanning for pickups and rationing firepower. What always stood out? The explosions. They're super vibrant for 8-bit, filling the screen with crazy colour. The game mixes in teleporters and occasional weird upgrade booths, and you need solid timing to dodge or destroy enemy swarms. Each alien, every barrier feels uniquely dangerous. You're always a wrong step from bite the dust territory. Playing Exolon is a challenge and a treat, especially if you dig atmospheric shooters that don't just hand you a win for mashing buttons. Frontline. Frontline kind of started it all for overhead run and gun fans. You're a lone soldier trying to grenade your way through enemy territory, fighting both foot troops and monsters like tanks. The big hook. Snagging an enemy tank mid-level, then bailing out before it explodes. The rotary dial lets you aim in all directions, so dodging incoming fire and landing clutch shots becomes a dance. Levels start with you chipping through infantry, then ramp up as you roll through brush and sand toward a fortress bristling with cannons. Destroying the final fort by lobbing a grenade on foot feels like a real accomplishment. Simple, but the tension is real. Each round, the game speeds up and gets meaner, so there's this one more try itch. The design is rough and raw, but you absolutely feel like an action hero pushing the limits of early arcade tech. Battle Lane Volume 5. To be honest, Battle Lane Volume 5 is straight up wild. You're on a motorcycle, gunning it through enemy lines with bullets whizzing past your head at every turn. Instead of running, you're riding and dodging, mixing bike racing reflexes with pure shooter chaos. It's got that unforgiving arcade difficulty, where checkpoints are brutal, and even the smallest mistake can mean instant game over. Each level throws more insane hazards: bazooka blasts, enemy cars, and roadblocks. You can pick up machine guns and bazookas, turning every checkpoint into a tactical showdown. The graphics lean toward gritty and fast, giving it a hyperactive feel, and the scrolling backgrounds keep things intense. Once you get into the rhythm, shifting between firing and dodging obstacles. The game just grabs you. If you ever wanted to feel like you're leading a one-man motorized assault on a 1980s war zone, this is the ride to take. Alright, that's it for this wild list from the 80s arcade. If any of these games brought back epic memories or inspired you to dive into classic run and gun action, let me know in the comments. There's nothing quite like old-school pixel chaos and insane difficulty to warm up your winter gaming nights. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this retro ride, and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on more deep dives. Thanks for watching.